It was discovered under the church floor in 1820. It's the lid of an Anglo-Saxon coffin, probably that of an early Christian priest.
It is one of the leading examples of figure sculpture of its date, embellished with stories from the life of Christ. The most recent interpretation of the iconography relates it to Byzantine cycles.
This is a work of staggering quality. It's about 800 AD, and yet it is packed with dramatic incident as much as any contemporary strip cartoon, really. I mean, there are angels lifting the figure of Christ up to heaven with great vigour, wonderful stylish wings they've got, and the effort they're making, their little hands heaving him up to heaven. And a little row of figures with rather formalised garments, and everyone has these eyes that are just little holes in the stone, but absolutely riveting. The more you look, the more you have a sense of somebody making this with a total conviction that these stories were important, were true, and would change their lives. It's a great religious work. Periods, reflecting shifts in power and wealth, the grand tombs celebrate not clerics, but the local gentry. The rich, of course, mention some of the remains of the industry that are above ground.
Magpie Mine is one of the most completely surviving sites of the Derbyshire lead mining industry, with the remains of the engine house, chimneys, an ore-crushing circle, and a large stone-lined drain.
Now, this all looks very peaceful and beautiful in the sunshine, very still, almost lyrical. But the life of working in the lead mine wasn't like that, was it?
You want to try it up here in the winter, it rains sideways. It was very, very hard work. They would walk to work, perhaps several miles, climb down several hundred feet. They were not wound up and down in cages. They had to climb. Various methods of climbing, very rarely ladders. More often stemples, wooden beams set across the shaft on each side, and they straddled in between them crabwise. And as I say, if anybody played God Save the Queen and the patriotic and stood to attention, that was the lot. Down they go.
How many people would have worked here?
Perhaps 40, 50 people in its heyday. But Derbyshire lead mining was a sort of more or less a cottage industry in a way. More or less anybody could have a go who wanted within certain areas of the Peak District. Imagine going into a factory or a castle or a cathedral that's been left exactly as it was 300 or 400 years ago. And just seeing things as they were. You can reach back and in fact touch, you know, there's a living history if you like, because underground nothing changes.
Alabaster tombs in Derbyshire can be monumental, beautiful, impressive. They can also be quite eerie.
Tomb of Thomas Beresford, died 1473, and his wife, at Fenny Bentley, Elizabethan. The two effigies shrouded and completely bundled up. A weird, grotesque idea.
We know who he was. Thomas Beresford fought with Henry V at Agincourt, and then he married his wife Agnes here, and they settled in Fenny Bentley, where they raised 21 children. There are still Beresfords in the village. Why did they make it like this? Well, PEVSNER and others suggest that by the time they came to do the effigies, they'd forgotten what the ancestors looked like, and so they wrapped them in their shrouds. I don't find that very plausible, because I don't think they were that concerned with portraiture as such. I much more like the notion that there was something haunted in the imagination of the Derbyshire stonemason, because that's what appeals to me. Look at them. They're like chrysalis, waiting to be transformed into great butterflies. The life after death? That's what intrigues me about all tombs. The fact that they establish an identity here on earth, but they also tell us we all have to face the great and quiet sleep of death.